What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Draft Yoda, where we're data-driven and prospect-focused. I am Draft Yoda himself, Bill Workman. I'm your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and today we're talking about one of the most slept-on wide receiver prospects in college football. Indiana wide receiver Nick Marsh. Marsh comes in carrying a 9.21 grade on my 10-point scale, making him the number 16 player overall, number 3 wide receiver behind Jeremiah Smith and Cam Coleman. Honestly, Nick Marsh, I said he was slept on. He could be one of the biggest wild cards of this entire draft. When you watch production, you see a future NFL starter. You don't just see a starter, you see a star. But when you dive into the efficiency numbers, you start seeing some questions. And those questions still need some answers. That's why his move to Indiana may end up being one of the biggest wide receiver shifts and one of the best things for his career. Because for the first time in his career, he's stepping into a situation built to maximize his talent and where he's not the only pass catching option. Nick Marsh hasn't had to carry expectations for a long time. Coming out of Detroit, he was one of the best athletes in the state. He did football, basketball, track, and he excelled in all three. I believe it was River Road. He became one of Michigan's top prospects and eventually earned recognition as the number 1 wide receiver in the state. And, when he went to Michigan State, the expectation was he'd become a future star for their offense. And that's exactly what happened. As a true freshman, he set school records. 41 catches, 649 yards, freshman All-American honors. And, as a sophomore, he became the focal point of every defensive game plan. And despite the constant attention, he still led the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. It's not easy when everybody in the stadium knows you're going to get the ball to keep putting up numbers. And Nick Marsh did. First thing that's going to jump off the tape at you is the size-speed combination. It is rare. Talking about 6'3" wide receiver with elite time speed. 6'3", 6'4", depending on where you look. And his speed is ridiculous. And those players don't grow on trees. NFL scouts are always looking for receivers who can threaten defenses vertically. Point blank, period. And not only can he threaten defenses vertically, he has the size to still play the possession game on the outside of the lines. It's hard to find a receiver that can do both, that can stretch you vertically and play the possession game. And that's why he was heavily recruited, and that's why scouts are going to continue to see his upside. The thing that I think sets him apart from some of his peers is the way he works in intermediate routes. A lot of young receivers rely strictly on athleticism. Marsh shows an understanding of spacing. He understands how to sit in a zone coverage. He understands how to manipulate defenders that are one-on-one. He understands how to create throwing windows for his quarterback. And that's a hard thing to evaluate and to quantify, but it's an advanced trait for a young receiver to be able to do that. Let's be real. One of the other things that's going to jump out to you is his toughness. He had 97 targets in 2025. Think about that. Every defense knew he was the primary option. Every defense built a game plan around stopping him. And he still produced. That's impressive. He got hit. And he got right back up. Said, thank you. Can I have another? Let's play ball. And I love that. One thing I think people are missing when they evaluate him is the situation he played in. Michigan State had arguably the worst quarterback situation in the Big Ten. The passing game was inconsistent. The protection was inconsistent. The offensive structure was inconsistent. And yet, Marsh became a 1,000-yard career receiver for his junior season in one of the most tumultuous offenses in college football. It's hard to argue numbers when you put them up in bad offenses. I think Nick Marsh spent his first 2 years of his career overcoming circumstances rather than benefiting from them. And his transfer is going to change a lot for him. Because this is where the evaluation gets really interesting for me. Indiana isn't just another stop. It's a playoff caliber program. They have a proven quarterback that's coming in, Hoover. They've got an offensive structure that we know wins games. Hey, reigning national champions, anybody? They've got a coaching staff that understands football and understands how to develop offensive talent. And perhaps most importantly, Nick Marsh isn't the only talent on the field, so he doesn't have to carry the offense by himself anymore. For the first time in his college career, defenses can't simply look at him, put double cover on him the entire game, and try to stop him. And that matters. It matters a lot because the traits are there. The question has always been, can he flourish? And I think the environment he just moved into, we are going to find out. I genuinely believe that Nick Marsh is one of the most likely breakout stars in college football. All the ingredients are there. Okay? He has the frame. He has the speed, the experience. He has a quarterback, an offensive system, a supporting cast, a coaching staff. Everything is aligned. If the efficiency catches up with the traits, we're talking about one of the best receivers in the country. Not just one of the best young receivers, one of the best receivers in the country, period. But, like we say in every single one of these, nobody's perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. The biggest concern with Marsh is his contested catches. He had 3 wins on 11 opportunities. And simply put, that's not good enough. You're 6'4". I expect more. You know, even if you were 6'3", depending, because I've seen you at 6 foot, I've seen him at 6'3", I've seen him at 6'4". I expect you to be better than 3 out of 11 in contested catches. Well, that's an area he needs to improve. Another concern is the drops. 6 drops is more than I'd like to see from an elite wide receiver, especially for a player that I'm expecting to be a future number 1 wide receiver. Good news is, I think several of those drops weren't on him. And I also think it's fixable. I think it was a little bit of a concentration lapse that led to some of those drops. And it's fixable, but hey, it still matters. The other concern I have, in the Michigan tape in particular, and a lot of people are going to pull it up whenever they're talking about his scouting, is the physical corners of Michigan disrupted his timing and limited his impact. They got in his face. They got in his face early. They got in his face often. They put 2 on him, and they kept jamming him. Now, at Indiana, not going to be able to do that as much because that's going to leave a lot of other talent open. So, will we see him get jammed a bunch? I don't know. I'd like to see it at least once just so I can see how he reacts when it's just a single jam. But it was a concern, so we got to mention it, right? End of the day, he's got a big frame, long speed. He's a vertical threat. He can win after the catch. He still needs to develop to be a complete receiver, and that's why he's wide receiver 3, not wide receiver 1 or 2. The question is going to come up, can he challenge for wide receiver 2 with Coleman? The answer simply is no. Coleman is much more complete. Going in, Coleman's got a better quarterback situation. As long as Coleman doesn't get hurt, Nick Marsh can't catch Coleman at 2. Nick Marsh shouldn't be worried about catching Coleman at 2. Nick Marsh should be worried about holding on to 3. And if he produces, he's going to be able to do that. I just need to see him do it. But at the end of the day, that's my grade for him. He's a 9.21 out of 10. You know, number 16 overall, number 3 wide receiver, and a legitimate first-round talent with a future wide receiver 1 upside. And I think Indiana gives him the perfect opportunity to prove he's one of the best wide receivers in America. His traits are there. They're there. I just need to see him to turn potential into production. If he does that in Indiana, he's earned a wide receiver 3. But that's my thoughts on him. That's my board. You know, can Indiana unlock his full potential? Where would you have him ranked among wide receivers in America? Now, drop your thoughts, comments down below. If you enjoy these player evaluations built around film and analytics, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to keep putting in the work. As always, I'm Draft Yoda, Bill Workman. I'm your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd. I will see you in the next one.